911.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Real Vile. This is your host, Mr. Germ T. Ripper, with my co-host. We got Ruthless Chris and Killer Kelly. And tonight we have an extra special guest. We have Lou Simone, and we will be talking to her about all of her wonderful movies. And it's a very exciting time. Guys, everybody take a second or two, say hi to the people at home.
Hey.
Not everybody at once.
Everybody at once.
Very, very cool. It's very exciting to have you on board, Lou. We finally made this work. I know that there's been a couple of hiccups along the way, but we've got you. And, I'm a big fan of your work. So
thank you.
Yeah. For the people at home that aren't as familiar with your films, could you give them a little background on who you are and what you've done?
Okay. I am a primarily horror filmmaker, but I do thrillers as well. Started with Hazmat. That was very successful. Then Hazmat, then All Girls Weekend did very well as well. Still doing really well, surprisingly. And then Agoraphobia, finally 3, An Eye for an Eye, and now I'm releasing a new one called 73 Minutes.
Awesome.
That's so cool. And I love I found out about you when I was asked to review 3, An Eye for an Eye for Daily Grindhouse. And it's such an interesting film and so many unique twists and turns in it. And being a hardcore genre film and horror fan, I was a little disappointed in myself that I did not see the twist at the end coming, and I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it.
We should definitely try to avoid spoilers on that one, because I thought I knew where
for sure
going. And 3 definitely button hooked me there towards the end, and I didn't see that coming, so it was really cool. So let's definitely keep that spoiler free for anyone who wants to go into this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely my favorite film I've made. It's, I really set out to do that, to really confuse the audience, and it's been so rewarding to watch it with people and just have everybody go, oh, at the end. It's the best feeling when you get to, see the audience reaction to it. It's very satisfying.
One of my favorite things about watching a movie, and 3 very much did this for me, is where I think I'm smarter than the movie and I knew where it was going. Mm-hmm. Where I've seen this, and then it was just like, nah, you really haven't, within, the setup of it, I was like, okay, it's going to be this style of movie. And this is, we've seen this a few times before. And I think that's kind of what you were set out to do as well, was like make you feel that you have kind of seen this before, and then you really haven't, Yeah,
definitely. I was definitely trying to be as confusing as possible. But I mean, there are a lot of movies out there, especially recently, it feels like, that are really confusing just for the sake of being confusing. But this was not. This was aimed to be disorienting. You're thinking it's going to go one way, and then every so often just throw in a little bit of but what is really happening, and then finally when the twist comes at the end, hopefully I think the majority of people, I've had a couple of people were like, oh, I figured it out. I'm like, yeah, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
You might have heard something about it, but not the full thing of it. So it's very rewarding.
I think you sprinkled enough breadcrumbs in there to where you start questioning yourself on what you think's going on. Like things just start feeling a little off and strange when you think what's going on, and you start questioning, well, okay, maybe,
Yeah, I definitely thought I had it figured out at least 3 different times in the movie. Like, no, it's not that angle. And then it like changes it on me. And I was just like, okay. Yeah, I did not see the end coming one bit.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
It was funny because one of the times that we had booked you to be on and it fell through, I'd rewatched the film, and even though I'd already watched it, I forgot, oh yeah, this movie is incredibly smart and it's smarter than me. And I was blown away again. I had to tweet about it. I was like, yeah, if you haven't seen this, go to Tubi, go to wherever, watch it, because it's, I remember when I was originally sent the screener by Daily Grindhouse and I started watching it and I was just like, oh, rape revenge film. Whoa, okay, well, I've seen a million of these. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. So anyways, I'm going to keep rambling on about how great this movie is.
Oh,
and everybody should watch it.
It's definitely my favorite. It's definitely my favorite. And it was actually even like the best experience making it, because it was just a bunch of us living in this house together, for 2.5 weeks making it. So it was definitely also the funnest filmmaking experience. I mean, it was just like just a big group of us, just like, I don't know, having slumber parties every night kind of thing. So it was really cool. It was just a great filmmaking experience.
That is really cool. One thing I noticed, because I was looking at your other movies too, I noticed that you mentioned agoraphobia like in this movie, and you have another movie called like Agoraphobia. Is that from like a personal, experience or something? If you don't mind.
No. I'm the complete opposite of agoraphobic.
Yeah.
No. I just, I think when you're a low budget filmmaker, you have so many constraints. So I have just about thought about every possible way that I can possibly confine people into a small space, whether it's a woman who can't leave the house, to a film crew that's stuck in an abandoned building, to and now a woman in a car. I mean, really, like the ultimate limited location queen right now, because every movie I have to make, I have to find a way to keep people trapped in one place, and then of course how to not make it boring, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the real trick.
Yeah.
73. Let's talk about that for a little bit. You were nice enough to provide us with a screener for it. I watched it the other day. Thoroughly enjoyed it. But like you were saying as well, you found a way to keep it contained. But in this one, it felt more large because it was contained, but it was mobile. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you have the different characters and they're different places working, on their end of what the mystery is ultimately going to be. But in the center of it is a woman who's has a race against time, and needs to be from one place to another within a certain amount of time, Right. So it felt like, even though you were working in the constrained budget and small locations, this one felt like a little larger just because of the on the road of it,
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
Because
to me, it feels so constrained, when she's so limited in her movements. It really, especially for cutting the trailer, that's really hard.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
You don't have these huge actions, or whatever, or, people running or something like that. So it just the trailer was really probably the hardest part, to be honest.
I can totally see that. Yeah.
So you filmed this during the pandemic and during lockdown. How would you even go about like the casting and the production? It seems like it's mind-boggling to me, like how you would get all these facets done when you're not supposed to be leaving the house. You're supposed to be limited contact with people. How did you do that? I mean, it just seems genius.
Oh, well, thank you about that part. I mean, honestly, this was just kind of like this crazy idea I came up with. We were in the middle of lockdown. This is May 2020, and I was by myself. And so I was going stir crazy because like I said, I'm the opposite of agoraphobic. And I just, I watched that movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it, Locke.
I was going to bring that up to you.
With Tom Hardy. And
yes, that's actually what this brought to mind, but it was different because Locke was just conversations on the phone, and then you had the multi-screen kind of
right. Well, I watched the movie and I was like riveted by it, and we're in the middle of lockdown. All the productions are shut down, and I thought, this is what filmmaking is going to be from now on, because at that point, like back in May, we didn't know how long this thing was going to last. It felt like it was never going to end. Like our lives was just going to change forever. I'm still. Once in a while I see a post from 2020 and I'm like, how did we survive that? It's right? Just insane.
They've been popping up in my memories for like days now.
I know. And so I was like, well, how are we supposed to ever make movies again if people can be in one, then a handful of people in a room at the same time, and this and that and the other. And I saw Locke and I was like, well, that's a perfect movie to make under those conditions with those restrictions, right? And I thought, why am I so vivid? And this is mostly a drama. If you watch the trailer and make it sound like it's a thriller, but it's not at all. It's just him having family drama, really, and job problems. It's not in any way, shape, or form any kind of thriller. And I thought, this is great, but can you imagine if he actually had a mystery he had to solve, during this drive? And that's all, I slept on it, one night, and the next day I sat down, since I had nothing to do, since I was unemployed. I sat down and just did the entire breakdown of the script. And then it was like, okay, but how do I keep it exciting for some, for 80, 90 minutes, how to keep the audience from not getting bored. Did the breakdown, wrote the script, 50 pages on one day, 40 pages on the next. And when I finished in the afternoon, I called everybody I had ever worked with and said, okay, I have no money. I've always paid everybody for their work in my movies, but this was one time that I was like, I have no money. I have no way of getting money because everybody, the world is shut down. Mm-hmm. Do you want to do this with me? And I call Aniela, who played, who played the main character, Monica. And I actually wrote the collar with Mike Stanley in mind, because I worked with him in 3 and he was so good in it. Yes, and then just call people. The only person I didn't know was Christopher Milan, who plays, the boyfriend, Keith. But everybody else I knew really well. Well, the little girl we also cast. That was it. But it was basically everybody was dying to do something creative because we're going like stir crazy and just like withering away with nothing to do. Just watching TV for hours and hours. So everybody was just happy to be on board.
Oh, that's really cool, though. I mean, that you took that time and that energy, and you put it into an effort that produced a great film. Because I'll be honest, when I thought about, it's all phone calls, blah, 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 I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be interested in this. And then when I watched it, I was riveted from beginning to end. And I was excited about that alone. I was just like, wow, where's this going to go? What's going on next? So many twists and turns. You kept it interesting enough that even though, it's FaceTime, phone calls, it's keeps you enthralled, keeps you in the moment. And I love that.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I'm so proud of what we were able to make. And I definitely think through really one of the most difficult times in my life, to be honest, because I was alone for most of the pandemic, other than when we were filming. This literally kept me sane. Working on this film gave me a purpose to get up in the morning that wasn't just to watch TV. I was unemployed, so it was like it gave me a purpose, something to keep me to look forward to waking up in the morning and feel like I was accomplishing something. In a weird way, save my sanity, if you will. I mean, I don't know what I would have done had I not had this to work on. You know, it just fulfilled my creativity, and so to at the end to look back on it, you know, when we did it at first, obviously I was like, it's probably gonna suck, but let's try it, let's have fun with it, and you know, who cares if, you know, if it's not good. But when we watched it back, we're like, this is actually kind of good, this is actually kind of fun. So it's, you know, we're very proud of it. We're just very what we were able to do with the limitations that we had, it surprises even me, and I thought of it.
So you just recently got distribution. Where can people expect to see this coming out? When can they see it? Where can they see it?
It's actually part of the Horror Pack subscription. So it'll come out for April. So anybody can go to horrorpack.com. And if they subscribe by April 15th, they'll have it by the end of April. And then after that, you know, a couple months after that, it should be available on all the different, you know, Amazon and all those, you know, streaming websites.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
How did you get hooked up with Horror Pack? Because I used to subscribe to that, and you do get some really good and quality Blu-rays and different collectible items and stuff. How did you get hooked up with Horror Pack?
This is actually the third release I do with them. Yeah. They, you know, it's so hard to get anything that pays these days, and they are actually one of the few outlets that actually does pay their filmmakers, and so it's like a nice little, and you know, most places, even in big distributors, most of my films have been released with Uncorked Entertainment, but they, you know, the most they'll do is DVDs. So this is nice because we get an actual Blu-ray, and you know, and that kind of thing. So you know, it's higher quality, and it's nice. It's nice to see your stuff, like seeing, you know, in much better quality than seeing it on just on a DVD that just looks pretty crappy. But yeah, I mean, definitely, I think everybody should subscribe to them. They're really quality stuff. You know, if you're really into collecting the actual, you know, Blu-rays and stuff like that. And it's not just independent films; they have the big Hollywood releases as well.
That's awesome.
Oh,
So, I don't know, what movies give you inspiration? Like, what are your favorite horror movies? I just feel like I gotta ask that to everybody.
Well, I mean, my favorite movie is Silence of the Lambs, and of course, people will debate whether it's actually horror or not. I think it is, but I think it still stands. Even if I were to say of all time, of any kind of movie, I still think it holds, you know, its own against any Hollywood, you know, any big drama, you know, that you can think of, because I just think it's really story perfection, you know, like it's just so well written, and to me it's all about story, you know. Those are big things. But if you were to say that that's not horror, and then I have to pick a second one, I would say The Thing.
The Thing, nice.
I just love The Thing, and you know, it's the same thing, right? Like, who do you trust? That, you know, that entire, like, you know, who really did it, that kind of thing. That's the kind of stuff that I, you know, since I was a kid, that was the thing that always fascinated me. It's like the whodunits, the you know, like the mysteries that need to be solved, you know, and that's really what I try to write. Even if it's a slasher, it still needs to have some sort of twist, some sort of, you know, some kind of fun mystery to solve of some kind.
Awesome.
Yeah, because 73 did have a twist in it too. So,
I mean, you know, you got to keep it interesting.
I noticed that Mike Stanley played the antagonist in both the last two movies you made.
Or did he? Maybe he was innocent in 3. Hold on.
I'm ruining things, and I didn't mean to. Okay, well, he was in both. He's in both the last two movies.
Maybe the poor guy was just tied up and he hadn't done anything.
I just spoiled both. Oh my goodness! Yeah, who is this fellow? I have no idea. Okay, Mike Stanley was in your last two movies. He was amazing. I'm a big fan of his work in these two movies that you made. How did you find him? And how did you get him for both these movies like this?
I actually have put a general casting call for the role of it when the first person turned down the role, and I was like, "Are you kidding? This is the role of a lifetime. What are you talking about? You don't want to do it." And he's like, "Oh, I don't want to be like raping people." I'm like, "Okay." But so I just put a general casting, and he had worked on another friend's movie, and the guy, that friend told him he should submit, and he wasn't at all what I had in mind for the role. Like, if you saw the casting subscription, it was going to be a guy who was pretty, built, and I'm not. That sounds like I'm being mean to Mike, but like, he's definitely not that, right? He's not buff, Mr. Buff, or anything like that.
He's bad bud.
But when he submitted his audition, he was so good that I was like, you know what, it's okay. He doesn't have to be buff, I'll take him. And then it was great because, like I said, he was the only person who I hadn't worked on a film before on 3. So he was new to the set. Everybody else, the entire crew and cast, everybody had worked together before, so we all knew each other really well. So, and then we were all staying in this house together. So now you're like having somebody come into this, already well-built circle of friends, making movies together. And he fit right in, like from day one. He was cracking jokes. He's one of the funniest guys you'll ever meet. And so it was just perfect. He just fit perfectly. And, I always say, even if I never make a penny out of filmmaking, if nobody ever hears my name or something like that, I will never regret ever, doing films, just because I have met the best people, made so many friends that, I'm sure will be in my life the rest of my life, even if I never make a movie again,
I found him to be very charismatic in both movies. I he definitely has a screen presence. I was really happy to see him pop back up. It's because I was he impressed me in 3, and then when he popped back up in the new one, I was like, oh, great, cool, it's good to see him. So I really enjoyed his acting and his screen presence. He was definitely a high point in the movies for me.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. I always feel like he's like right on the brink of like making it big. Because he's one of those people who's so talented. You're like, how isn't he big already? You know? So I don't know. I think this is the year 2023. He's going to become super famous, and then I can be rich off of him when all my films start selling. Because he's,
Well, what's up on what's next for you? What you got on the burner?
Well, we shot 9 Windows last year, and that is, crazily enough, the first feature film fully shot on an extended reality stage using the virtual backgrounds, like the Mandalorian and all that. Mm-hmm. That technology with the Epic Unreal Engine. So it's 100% shot on a stage like that. Like Mandalorian shot only about 50% of the time on a stage like that, and a bunch of other ones mixed in like green screen technology, stuff like that. Ours is not. It's 100% like that. And it's actually a modern retelling of Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window.
Okay.
And it's with William Forsythe and Michael Pare. So it's.
I love Forsythe.
Me too.
He's great. He's great in it too. He's a great. He's the in Rear Window. He would be the detective.
Okay. Yep. We're Kelly and I, at least. I'm not sure about Germ, but we're big Hitchcock fans. So
yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge. He's my favorite director, and I'm a huge fan of his.
I think Vertigo might be my favorite Hitchcock movie.
Yeah,
change it sometimes.
They're talking about remaking it.
Nice. I guess it depends. It'd be hard to duplicate, like Hitchcock's magic. You know what I'm saying?
People have been trying. No one can ever do it.
Yeah.
Trust me, for us, I only redid it only because I felt like, I was watching Rear Window, and I thought, here he is watching all these neighbors, through their windows, and I'm like, nowadays you don't need to be looking through people's windows because they're like showing you their entire life on social media.
Oh, I like that concept. Yeah.
So the idea is that it's a girl that she is in a car accident, loses her parents, and she's in a wheelchair, and so she spends all her time online looking at videos, and she just witnesses a series of murders. It's a serial killer too. It's as opposed to a guy killing. Like you couldn't just do a guy killing one person nowadays. Everybody'd be like, yeah, no big deal. So you had to like.
Body count.
So she's it's a serial killer that's posting all the videos online, and she's everybody's like, it's not real, it's all make believe and special effects and blah blah blah. And she's the only one going, no, it's happening. So it's my modern twist on that.
This one definitely sounds up my alley for sure. Actually,
Cool.
like everything about it, I'm already like, oh shit! I can't wait till that one comes out.
And that one's called Nine Windows.
9 Windows, yeah.
9 Windows. Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Very cool, yeah. Because I totally got excited when you said William Forsythe. I got excited when you said Alfred Hitchcock. And I think if any director could do something like this, it would be you, Lou, because you have sprung twists on us multiple times now, and we're genre film fans. We are horror movie fans, and we didn't see this coming. Your films keep us entertained. So I think if anybody can take a Hitchcock story arc or a Hitchcock idea and make it their own, it's going to be you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really like the idea of modernizing, like, a classic like that. I like it. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the only way. I mean, it's been done so many times, but this only way I could think of making it really modern. And and actually it was just remade recently with Zoe Kravitz. Where she actually hears she's some kind of operator or something like that. I forgot. She's kind of like a she works for like Siri or something like that, and she hears what she thinks is a murder. It was done. This is like one of the many pandemic movies, because it's basically her in this apartment. But you should watch it and let me know when you watch mine, because I was like, it came out after I shot mine, and I was like, I think mine's better.
Yeah.
I
will. I'll check that out. I'll have to look her up on IMDb. I'm sure it'll be easy to find the title, but yeah.
Well, I feel rightfully so. You should think yours is better, because if you create something and you're like, oh no, other people's stuff is better than mine, then why'd you even make it, right? And I do love your DIY aesthetic or ethics. It's like you wrote, you produced, you directed. I mean, the only thing you didn't do was star in all your movies, but that's amazing. It was just like, I'm just going to do it myself. I'm going to get it done. And, you're plowing through these, you're making it great twisted thrillers and genre films, and we're all excited just hearing about your next film. So you're doing good things, Lou.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, you have no choice, if you're a filmmaker. I'm not a writer, I'm not a director, I'm a filmmaker. And so you end up doing everything to get it done because you do it for the love of the craft, you don't do it for anything else. I definitely don't do it for the money.
I think we all know that feeling,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like when I was singing in a band, I got sick of trying to get a label to put my stuff out, so I started my own label, and then I started putting other bands out on a label. Guess what? I never made money. I lost a bunch of money, but it was still great to get other people's music heard or get my music heard. I know that Chris, he runs a independent wrestling company, and I don't know if you're turning a profit on that or anything, but
I'm not paying the bills with Ruthless. I'm gonna tell you that. I mean, we travel a lot. We're doing a lot of big stuff, but I'm not laughing my way to the bank. I'm get myself a combo meal afterwards.
Right. So yeah, being a starving artist and doing it yourself, this group of people right here, we can totally get you.
Mm-hmm. I'm a graphic designer and photographer, so I actually do make a living off of it, but it's not a lot. I get by. I get it.
Well, we got a big group of DIY people here, and we appreciate you, Miss Simone. We've got to the part of the show, though, where we sit around and we talk about films that we've watched recently or films on a certain subject. Would you like to join us and talk about a few films you like?
Sure.
All right, very cool.
I'm going to be such a pain in the ass. I don't like anything.
That's fine. That's fine.
Well,
Talk about how you don't like things.
That's not the whole point of it. It's basically like, what have we watched lately, and would you recommend it or not? Where'd you watch it? That kind of thing. So you could say, I didn't like it.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of them. I usually choose things I haven't seen before or something I haven't seen in a while. But yeah, this week I got both. So.
Very cool. Well, let's keep the terror train going. And how about Ruthless Chris? Why don't you get us started on this? What have you watched recently that you want to talk about?
Well, so I was going through the shoot of dog shit, and I came across one, and I was like, even if this is horrible, with what it is, it should at least be entertaining. It's a movie called Blacktop, right? You got Meatloaf a Day as a serial killer, and the guy that played Baby Dick in Scary Movie as your action hero.
Oh.
Meatloaf drives around a big black truck. He's a trucker. The thing's called Diesel, and he hijacks this guy's girlfriend, and it's like a cat and mouse game of like getting the girlfriend back. On paper, this thing, it should have been entertaining even if it was bad, but it's just boring. Like nothing happened. It was just boring. You'd think Meatloaf being at the center, murdering people, chopping off ears and such, would be entertaining, but it's really just not. Like it was just long and not a lot happened. So unfortunately, I would not recommend Blacktop on Tubi, even though it should have been fun. It just was not.
If you were going to give it a star rating, how many stars would you give it, or would you give it any stars?
I would give it a 1.5 out of 5. And you know how much I love my dog shit, man. Like this should have been up my like just the sheer audacity of it, and like the what it was about should have had me cracking up or at least getting into it, or because Meatloaf can act, like I've seen him in stuff where he's really good, like not only Rocky Horror, but he had that Masters of Horror episode for Argento where he was like skinning women and like making skin suits and shit. And he was pretty terrifying in it. And bitch tit Bob from Fight Club.
Yeah.
But in this one, it was just weird. There was no motivation for anything he was doing. I think it had motivation. Like if there was a reason for like his actions, like he didn't really like, there was no like impending on the woman. Like there was no like I'm taking her because I think she's beautiful. I'm gonna do horrible shit to her, or I'm gonna teach this guy a lesson. Like show him what he's missing. Like it just shit happens, and there's no real reason for it. So if it had the reason, it'd have the payoff. And then I'm not sure if you remember what the Baby Dick dude from Scary Movie looked like, but like he's also the guy. If you remember Dead Man on Campus, that was humping the couch and the lamps and all that.
Yeah.
And it's hard to take him seriously in anything because he just kind of looks like Deputy Doofy, So I don't know. I didn't like Blacktop. I thought I would love it. I thought I really had a gem here.
Well, Chris, we want to say a salute to you for taking one for the team. You watched it, so we don't have to. 1.5 on Tubi. That's Blacktop. Killer Kelly, what do you got to talk about next?
The next one I'm going to talk about, I stumbled across this one on Showtime. This is Silent House, 2011. It's apparently written by Laura Lau and directed by Laura Lau and Chris Kentis. They did Open Water and Grind, both of those people.
Open Water was great.
Yeah, I liked Open Water. Grind is one my boyfriend really loves. It's like an old, I think like 1990s skateboard movie. Yes. Yes, it is. But this one is apparently inspired by true events. One thing I found interesting about this one, it was all filmed in one take. Like there was no cuts. The entire movie was just one take. And I don't know, I think that made it better. But this basically follows Sarah. Her dad and her uncle are selling this lake house that they used to own and used to go to back in the day. It's this big, beautiful Victorian house, but it's all old and falling apart. Like they're just getting rid of it. So she's going with them to try to clean it out. They're going to sell this house. The uncle leaves to go check some wiring or something with the electrical for a little while. And that's when all shit kind of hits the fan. She starts hearing noises. And at first you're like, is this a haunted house sort of movie? Is there somebody in the house? And, so like they keep you guessing on that for a while throughout the movie. That's the end. There's a big twist, and Lou, this actually reminded me a lot of your movie 3, like what happens at the end. I don't want to go into detail, but the endings were similar. Actually, I was like, wow, that's weird. I just watched that one, and then I just watched this one, but
I saw that, but I don't. I saw it back into 2011 or whenever it came out, so I don't remember what the twist was.
Yeah, I just stumbled across it actually earlier today. But I don't know, this one was all right. I'd probably give it about a 3. I do like how it was filmed, how it was all filmed in one take. I thought that was pretty cool, and it did help the movie. The main actress in it is Elizabeth Olsen. She's one of the Olsen twins' little sisters. Like I seen her name, and when you've seen her, you're like, she's an Olsen. And I looked it up, dude. She absolutely is their little sister. But yeah, I thought it was all right. Her performance was awesome. 3. I give it about a 3. I'd recommend it.
Very cool. What is it streaming on? Or is it streaming?
Showtime. This one's on Showtime.
Very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. 3 stars. Silent House. Silent House, right?
Silent House. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to go too far into it because a lot of it's really just her running around the house trying to figure out where the noises are coming from or who's after her, or I don't know. It's decent though.
Very, very cool. All right. Miss Simone, what have you got for us? What have you watched recently that you want to talk about?
Does it have to be genre?
No, it's anything that you want to talk about.
Okay. Well, after the Oscars, I wanted to watch The Triangle of Sadness. Has anybody seen that?
Yes.
It's on Hulu right now.
I loved it.
Really?
Yes, I talked about it recently.
I loved it too.
Yeah.
I watched it because he put it over.
I couldn't get into it. When the first half hour of the movie was a couple arguing, I was just like, oh my god. And not a particularly very interesting fight at that. I was like, how did this movie get nominated for an Oscar?
Yeah, I haven't seen this
one yet. I couldn't get into it. I probably would watch only about 45 minutes of it, and then I was like, I'm done. I can't. This is just I mean, maybe it got really interesting after that. I don't know, but I literally gave up after 45 minutes. I was like, if that, I was just like, I'm so bored out of my mind.
If you didn't like the first 45, you weren't going to like any of it.
No. Okay. Yeah. No. I mean, like, just that argument. I mean, you know, you have a movie like Inglourious Bastards, you know, that first scene that's at least 20 minutes long, but you were riveted. This was not it. This was not it. This is like every stupid fight you've ever had with your other person. I'm like, oh my god. And it's like, you know, I mean, it's in real time. Like, they didn't edit it at all. I was just like, this is so annoying. I don't know. Maybe it's a personal thing. It just brought back, you know, flashbacks to every stupid argument I ever had with a significant other. But I was like, no.
No, that's totally legit. Like, I can totally see that. I could totally see that. You know, it's watching these completely unlikable characters talk about irrelevant things that, you know, every working person cannot even relate to anyway. You know, are you gonna pay the bill? No, you're gonna pay the bill. Oh, you're not gonna pay the bill? Totally understandable. I liked it because it got to a part where there's like a big gross out scene. I'm a sucker for gross out scenes on the ship, and then it turns into sort of a disaster film. But yeah, I could totally see where you're coming from with that. And it kind of makes me laugh because most other people are kind of drooling over about how great it is. And I love that you're just like, no.
I don't think I was a big fan of any of the Oscar movies, to be honest. I mean, of the ones that I saw like 4 of them, and I was just like,
I really enjoyed Everything Everywhere All at Once. I thought that one was awesome. I watched The Whale the other day though, and I didn't think that was as great as everybody was saying. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was good, but it wasn't like amazing, it was sad.
You said you only made it through 45 minutes of Triangle of Sadness. If you were going to give it a star rating or any stars at all, what would you give it?
gosh, that's really hard when you shouldn't watch the whole thing. So I don't know.
I think when you don't watch the whole thing, that is.
I mean, for me, I usually have this bad habit of watching something that's really bad, just because I'm dying to. I want to know what happens. But this one, I gave up. So I would have to wait like for me to turn it off. It had to be really bad for me. Like obviously, not most people don't agree with me, but I would give it a 1 because for me to turn it off, it's got to be bad.
All right. I totally appreciate that though. So Triangle of Sadness on Hulu, filmmaker Lou Simone gives it 1 star.
Take that, Oscars.
A big F you to the Oscars. No, I totally appreciate that, actually. The first movie I want to talk about is the Soska sisters film American Mary. It came out in 2012, and I remember I saw it when it first came out, and I liked it, didn't love it. I recently rewatched it and loved it. I just, I love how they go for the gore, they go for the grime, and they don't let up. I think this was their second film. Their first film was called Dead Hooker in the Trunk, and the Soska sisters, I met them once, and they are just amazing to talk to, and they're so friendly and so much fun to be around, and to see them make a movie like this where it's like the allure of easy money sends the main character Mary Mason, who's a medical student, to this underworld of cosmetic surgeries that ends up leaving more marks on their freakish clients. And once again, there's so many twists and turns. And the cast is amazing. Catherine Isabel, Tristan Risk. It's very empowering, very female centric, and very smart, very well done. I definitely give this one a 4.5, and it's streaming on AMC Plus and Tubi. If you haven't seen it, definitely go and watch it. Have you guys seen American Mary?
Absolutely. I agree with your rating too. I think it definitely deserves a 4.5. The movie's great.
Very unique.
Mm-hmm.
There's really not much like it at all.
Yeah, it kind of like dives into a little bit of like Cronenberg-y body horror, like what Crash kind of did, where it was like people that were getting off on like their bodies being kind of like mutilated and chopped up, and like the adrenaline they get from that and stuff. It's definitely an interesting watch. I liked it a lot. 4 stars for me. I really like the girl that stars. What's her name? The girl from Ginger Snaps.
Catherine Isabel.
Yeah, she does a lot of genre stuff, and she's usually really good and stuff like that. Like I usually really enjoy her as a performer, and I think this is like one of the really like high points in the things she's done, because it's like all about her. Where in Ginger Snaps, there still was a lot about the sister dealing with what she was going through with as changing into the werewolf. Then that whole allegory with that.
She was
This
in
is
that
definitely-
Hannibal series, wasn't she?
Yeah,
Yes.
she was.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she was. Did you like
That's
that as a
so
Silence of
good.
the Lambs fan? Were you a big Hannibal fan of the new series?
Not as big as other people. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, part of it's like and none of the other movies also were great by comparison. Because I think once you love the original so much, it's really hard to like the other ones. So I think part of what I love about Silence of the Lambs, and it's not just because I'm a woman, but I like the whole Clarice being a woman. That weird dynamic that they had, which you lose in the other movies. Although Red Dragon was okay.
Did you like Manhunter?
And Manhunter was very good,
Yeah.
even though
It was yeah.
I loved Manhunter until I saw Silence of the Lambs, and then once you see Anthony Hopkins do that role, and you're like
It was who was it in Man? It was Brian Cox, right? Manhunter.
Oh, I
can't
don't
really
remember.
remember.
I can't remember now. That's how forgettable it becomes after you see it.
Very cool. So everybody is 100% on board with American Mary. Gets a big thumbs up. Gets 4.5. Well, if you had to give it a star rating, Lou, what would you give American Mary?
I would say 4. I wasn't crazy about the ending. That was my only critique of it. Like it was great, and then all of a sudden it just seemed to like go a little off the rails story wise. But other than that, yeah, really well done. Really, really well done.
Very cool. Chris, what do you got next for us?
Next one's gonna be a weird one. It's got a terrible name. The second I say the name, you're going to think of something completely different that's ridiculous. So I can't believe that they named it, but it's called Animorph. What do you think about it? You remember the Animorphs? Where like CGI into like Pegasi and all kinds of goofball shit. No, this is a like semi-7 style clone a little bit that's kind of doing its own thing. It stars Willem Dafoe. It's a detect like it is in the vein of like Silence of the Lambs or Seven, to where you have this detective who is after on the hunt of this sadistic killer. The reason it's called Animorph is like there's this thing called anamorphosis, I guess. This is an art term to where when you like paint something, you hide something within the painting that you could see at a different angle. Like if you stood to the side of the painting, you would like that would be the focal point. So the murders are like kind of tied into that style of thing. Like the murder set pieces in this are really impressive. They're very strangely artsy, to the point where it actually does remind me a little bit of some of the stuff they did in Hannibal or True Detective, like the series where they ultra stylized the kills. This is a really weird movie because it teeters on being really good to absolutely ridiculously stupid, from scene to scene. Like some scenes are so competently done and so beautifully shot. And, Willem Dafoe is a great actor. He didn't like just grab a paycheck to this thing. He was trying through this thing. But then they would like switch to another scene and like you would think it was written like that no one put a pass on the script. But you have a killer on the loose. He is making these murders to where if you look at them from multiple perspectives, it gives you clues into what to see next. Clea Duvall plays a minor character in it. I watched this whole thing through and I could not figure out what her relationship was to Willem Dafoe. That's how poorly some of this was written. Like, I couldn't tell if it was his daughter, his love interest, the daughter of a lost love interest. All these things came to mind. Mick Foley's in it. Mankind from wrestling plays a shop owner, like a pawn shop owner. This one I would recommend for what it is, but you probably will only ever watch it once. Like there's some really interesting stuff going on in this thing, but at other tokens it will be absurdly frustrating. And like it really dips into some serious cliches, like he's the alcoholic detective who's like shamed because he drinks so much, but like every time he's driving around, he's just got like little mini vodka bottles. He's just whipping them out the window wherever he's at. The killer, they don't really. One of the things I did actually like about it is instead of giving you a huge exposition dump on why he's doing what he's doing, like when I'm talking about how poorly some of it was written, how good some was written, it like you knew exactly what he was doing and why he was doing it without an exposition dump. Like you kind of got all the clues, but at the same token, I couldn't even figure out how some of the characters knew each other. Like Clea Duvall plays like the third lead in this thing, and for some reason, he's only showing up to talk to her when she's doing like blood transfusion stuff. Like she's just like always getting her blood transfused, and he pops up to talk to her, and she's like, this is right after the faculty, so she's like just after high school age, and Willem Dafoe in 2007 was probably mid 40s, so like I don't know, I couldn't figure out what the relationship was. It's worth watching once. The ending made me laugh so hard. Like they thought they had the biggest, cleverest twist known to man in this thing, and when it came together, I fell off my couch. I was laughing so hard because it was that bad. But I still would recommend watching it once. So Animorph, fresh onto Tubi. Willem Dafoe, 2007, directed by Henry Miller. Only movie he ever made besides another one called Occupation.
How many stars, Chris?
2.5. Because it's competently made. It's that one frustrated the shit. I wanted to like it, and I also hated its guts all at the same time. But I was entertained.
Understandable. Yeah.
Yeah. It was one of those movies that I thought it was really, really smart. And at the end, like, there's a scene I wish I really could talk about where they were just clunking you so hard over the head with what they're doing. And then then comes the big reveal, and it's like, yeah, no shit. Like, you are literally like punching us in the face with the clues. What are you talking about? But yeah. So Animorph.
See, I prefer movies where you think you know what's going on, and then there's a big twist, and then you're like, oh wow, that was really good, instead of a movie that thinks it's really smart and thinks it's going to pull one over on you and doesn't.
Yeah, that
was a little tip of the hat to our guest Lou, by the way, because their movies are amazing. But Kelly, what do you got to talk about next?
The next one I'm going to talk about, this one I found on Tubi, 2013, The Frankenstein Theory. It was directed by Andrew Weiner. He was a producer on Romeo and Juliet. So I was like, all right. Penny Dreadful and Andrew Weiner.
Like Weiner.
Yeah, that's how it's spelled. Exactly how it's spelled. So,
Okay.
Romeo and Juliet, Penny Dreadful, and another movie called Hit and Run. This one follows a man named John Vankenheim. Apparently, he is a descendant of Dr. Frankenstein, except, Vankenheim, Frankenstein.
I think I've seen this one.
Yeah, he's got this theory that Mary Shelley, when she wrote the book Frankenstein, she wrote it on an actual, turn of events. Like that book is nonfiction. And he believes that Frankenstein is still alive and living in the hills of Canada. So he hires a documentary film crew. He's quit his job at, I don't remember, something big at some college. Like, he's completely abandoned his life to go find Frankenstein. So, like, everything he has is riding on this. So he hires this film crew. They get together with some crazy Canadian guy named Carl that just knows that area. And they go up through the woods and the mountains looking for Frankenstein. Along the way, he's been collecting stories of, like, apparent sightings of the Frankenstein throughout the years. Like, they talk to this one meth head dude that's just kind of freaks the fuck out when they show him a picture, which is like a bad drawing from like the 1700s of what Frankenstein looks like. And then the meth head's like, that's the dude. And he's like, who is this guy? They're like, Frankenstein. The dude freaks the fuck out, and that's all right. But they're in the woods. They start hearing shit. Apparently they're on I don't want to tell you what happens, but they're on this search for Frankenstein, and they either meet him or they don't. It's all right. I thought it was an interesting concept. Like it is filmed like a documentary style, like a documentary.
I
You know?
did see this one. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think?
Eh.
That's what I was gonna give it, like a 2.5. It's just meh, but I liked the concept. I think it gets some extra points for originality at least. Dr. Frankenstein. I don't know why that makes me giggle, but it wasn't bad. 2.5. It was average,
2.5. And where can you witness this masterpiece?
Tubi, of course.
Tubi, of course.
Our favorite streaming platform.
It is.
Tubi is awesome.
And let's keep the train moving. And our guest, Lou, what did you want to talk about next? What movie would you like to talk about next?
Trying to remember. I watched so much stuff recently, but I've been watching a lot of TV instead of. But I did watch a movie named Prospect. It's on Hulu. It's with what's his name, Pedro Pascal.
Yes.
And it's sci-fi. And it's basically future, and this young girl and her father go to this other planet to, I guess, mine some weird, gem that grows almost like an oyster, but not in the sea, but like in this weird environment, in this planet. Not going, he doesn't play her father. He actually plays a bad guy, but somehow, I don't want to say how, she ends up alone with him, and they have to work together to try to get off the planet and, also, if possible, get these gems. So it was obviously before he blew up. Now he's like in everything. So it's a smaller budget film. And it really didn't necessarily, it could be like something that happened in the Old West or something like that. It would have worked out just, the same. So it
felt like a Western when I watched it. It felt like
right?
a Western. Space,
yeah. Like the sci-fi angle is not huge. It's like not really much of an issue. And actually it was a little bit of a hindrance because the entire time they're talking, they have to have these, helmets on. So it's really hard to understand them sometimes. And so it's like very muffled, when they talk. So it actually worked against it. Like it would have been nice if it was a planet where they didn't have to wear these astronaut spacesuits. It's average, I think, it's like a 3. But then you have his, he's such a good actor, that I would say he kind of puts it 3.5, too close to 4, just because of him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen it yet.
I had seen this one too. I believe that one's on Amazon. No, it's on Hulu.
It's on Hulu.
Yeah, I had watched it too, and it definitely felt like a Western. There was a couple scenes where, like, if you took the space helmets off and put on cowboy hats, it would have been like right out of a Western.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it though. It was like it was one of those things where you could tell they didn't have a lot of money, but it didn't really come through on screen. Like, they still made some space helmets. I think that was like the whole point of the space helmets, is like to keep it sci-fi, but it's a set piece we could not spend a whole lot of money on and have in every shot and remind you we're in space. Right. But yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. It was cool, low budget filmmaking. It was ambitious. I'll give it that.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it. I'd give it 3.5 as well.
Very cool. I haven't seen it either. I'll have to check that one out. It definitely sounds like it's worth a watch, and if it's on Hulu, why not? Keep the train rolling. I'm going to talk about one last movie before we wrap up this episode of Real Vile. I'm going to talk about a 1980s classic sci-fi horror film. It's mostly known for being, just a gross out sort of film. And but when I was surprised that I'd never watched it before when I put it on. And this film is called Humanoids from the Deep.
Oh,
Um, I was actually surprised at how much I thought it was actually really smart. Like the angles played on like gender and race and the socio-political aspects of Humanoids of the Deep, because it's actually a lot more of that sort of that socio-political storytelling than it is. It's mostly known for these sea creatures coming out and raping women, and you see that at the end of the movie, but you don't really. That's not the whole of the story, but it's directed by Barbara Peters, and like I said, it's about humanoid sea creatures that start killing a fishing town's residents and raping their women. It's up to the townsfolk and a visiting biologist to fight back and fend them off. And I was actually surprised how much I liked this movie. The sea creatures look a little hokey at times, but then again, it's 1980, and I wouldn't
it's
expect
a Corman budget.
It's Roger Corman, and it's mostly known if anybody was asked who's it by, they'd probably say Roger Corman, but it's actually directed by it's actually a female director, Barbara Peters. Took the helm at this film, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll give it 3.5, and it's on Freevee, it's on Tubi. I actually found it when I was scrolling through the Tubi section of female directed horror films. So, I definitely tell anybody who hasn't seen Humanoids from the Deep, check it out. It's worth a watch. 3.5. Have you guys seen Humanoids from the Deep?
Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, I've absolutely seen that one. I'd probably give it a 3.5 as well. 3.5. It's a fun one.
All those old Corman productions were a lot of fun. I definitely liked it. But I love me some aquatic horror too. Like, I'm a sucker for sea creatures and creature from the Black Lagoon style stuff, and it definitely tickled my itch on that one. This is one that our previous host put over big time all the time. I'll give it 3. I really enjoyed it. It's good cheese,
Mm-hmm.
Lou, you said you haven't seen Humanoids from the Deep yet?
I have not. I have to add it to my watch list. That sounds
absolutely. I highly suggested it at least one time.
Yeah, at least once. It is some good cheese. It's some good cheesy fun. You need that every once in a while, Everybody does.
Some of us more than others. That's all I eat at this house is cheese.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, guys. And, I always have a great time with Real Vile Gang. And it's been an especial, esteemed honor having our guest, Lou Simone, here tonight to talk about her brand new movie, 73 Minutes. It's going to be available horror pack for physical media. So make sure you subscribe to Horror Pack because it's going to be an exclusive. And a couple months after that, it'll be on all streaming platforms. Make sure you check out 73 Minutes, definitely, because it's a thriller filmed during the pandemic, filmed during lockdown, and it grabs your attention and doesn't let go the entire movie. I'm a big fan, and I'm a big fan of you, Lou. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being part of the Real Vile Entertainment team tonight. You are a dear, and we fully appreciate you being a guest on our show. Any last words for our guest, Lou?
thank you guys. Thank you for having me. It was much fun.
Definitely check out 3 on Tubi. Good watch from Lou.
I think Agoraphobia was on Plex too. I almost watched that, but I wasn't able to get around to it before recording.
Yeah, they're all on Tubi, and they're which Tubi is great to filmmakers. So you primarily watch Tubi if you can.
We put Tubi over hard here. It's like where we watch all our stuff.
So yeah, they're all Hazmat, All Girls Weekend, Agoraphobia, and 3 An Eye for an Eye are all on Tubi right now, and then I'm sure 73 Minutes will be there in a few months, 2-3 months.
Awesome.
Very, very cool. Kelly, Chris, any last words for the Real Vile listeners?
Nope, that's all I got tonight. Chris?
I'd say to come check our show out. By the time this comes out, it would have happened yesterday. So hopefully you tune in on IWTV, and if you were in Jersey, hopefully you joined us. So, and we'll see you next time in Chicago.
And what's the name of the show? Ruthless Wrestling, Ruthless Pro Wrestling, Street Trash. Let everybody know.
Street Trash, yes. Like I said, it would have been yesterday by the time this drops. So, but the replay will be up on IWTV for streaming, and then our next stop is Chicago, June 17th for Take Is Needed for Pain. Tickets for that are on sale. We got Kobayashi coming from Japan. We got Big Lou Nixon coming from the UK. So we got some big things going on over there. Make sure you come out and join us for that, and we'll be out there with our friends in ICW No Holds Barred from New York. So come join us at the Berwyn Eagles in Chicago.
Well, goodness gracious gravy, that has been some crazy, exciting times. Holy guacamole. I'm going to wrap this up just by saying keep it creepy, keep it spooky, and keep it real vile forever. And thanks again, Lou Simon, for joining us. I've been so
You're
good.
so good. You're so good.
You were on a roll for a second there, man.
Your name. I've been so good at not screwing up your name all night. I'm trying to wrap up the show and I screw it up one. Oh.
You're so close.
I was doing so good. So good. Anyways, thank you all for joining us here at Real Vile. Keep it creepy, keep it spooky, keep it real vile forever. We'll check you out next week. Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, all you cats and kittens, all you ladies and lady killers out there in Real Vile land. This is your old pal, Mr. Germ T. Ripper, saying keep it spooky, keep it creepy, keep it real vile forever. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and share all our content. Ow!